Oh, hello. You just caught me doing some research for our next class. Welcome back to Phil's Kitchen. Jen, love, we've got some guests. Can you put the kettle on? Come on, let's go through. Oh, cheers, love. Oh, lovely. Right, folks, sweet and sour pork in oyster sauce. Got a hot date tonight. The kids are going to be in bed. Family favourite. The missus will be looking forward to this all week. So what I've got to do first, I'm going to prepare some vegetables. I've got some onions, I've got some peppers. I'm going to do a little bit of julienne finely sliced carrot just for a bit of a garnish. She'll love it. I'm going to chop it up, but first of all, safety first. Get that chopping board secured, get a really nice sharp knife, and away we go. Alright, so I've peeled my onion, got rid of that skin, made sure my chopping board's clear, because you don't want any of that getting into your takeaway. I've peeled my carrot. So what the secret now behind a lovely Chinese sweet and sour pork is to have these vegetables rustically cut inside that dish, but so they're not very cooked, so they're nice and crisp, so you get that crunchy, that freshness what the Chinese pride themselves on. So I'm going to chop this pepper up. I'm going to top and tail it. I'm going to just cut it round, remove those seeds. You can see here on my workstation I've got a little bowl there for those unwanted bits there. Okay, now for that top part I'm going to shred a little bit up just as a little garnish. And to do a similar thing with my onion, this time round I'm going to cut out that root and I'm going to really finely slice it down, wasting none of the onion. But that's just going to go on the top of my dish as a garnish. Okay, with the leftovers parts here, because I want quite a rustic dice here now, I'm gonna just chop that up. I can then now remove that root bit that I don't need, and that's going to leave me with nice chunks of rustic onion. With my pepper, I've got a red, I've got a yellow. I can do exactly the same with them. These top bits here of the pepper, which you might have thought would get wasted, I can nicely just cut them up. And again, it doesn't really matter. We're going all rustic here. And I want my peppers in nice chunks, just like that. So I'm just going to chop up this carrot for a bit of julienne. Okay. I've just squared off that bottom edge, just so it doesn't rock around the place, protecting my little piggies. And then I'm going to finely slice it down. Into thin strips. Again, you can see pepper's ready, multiple colours, giving vibrancy, nice bit of colour for that dish. Alright, so what I've got here for our Cantonese style pork is a lovely piece of pork tenderloin. So what I've done is I've just trimmed up all the excess sinew, large pieces of sinew to remove that, because that'll be quite tough when it cooks. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to dice it up, and I'm going to marinate it in some bicarbonate of soda and water. And a lot of the meats that you get from the Chinese takeaways have this process done to it, because what that will do is tenderise that meat. That's why it's very soft and floppy looking when you take it out of your takeaway. Now I'm preparing at home. I always prepare my meat on a metal tray like this, because in the house the only technical way to sterilise our chopping boards is through heat treatment. And what I'll do is clean my tray and I'll put it in the oven, and that will kill all that bacteria. but the key here is to make sure that you're chopping up these chunks of meat, exposing as much surface area as possible, because it's the contact of that bicarb on that surface area that will cause the tenderization to take place. Alright, so for about 400 grams of pork, I'm going to 112 ml of water, and into that water I'm going to put about 5 grams, a good heaped teaspoonful of bicarbonate of soda, and what that will do is that will start attacking those proteins within that pork, taking down any texture and making this meat super tender. So I'm going to leave that in there for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then that's going to come out super tender. Okay folks, so I've taken the meat out of the marinade. You can see here it is, patted dry on a bit of kitchen towel. Now on this meat goes a little coating of a rub. We've got some celery salt in there, I've got some onion salt in there, a bit of the flour. That's going to coat it, because for this pork it's going to go in the batter. Now we're looking at this meat here. Now at the minute it doesn't look overly appetizing, but my goodness, it is tender. So that bicarb has attacked that pork, beautifully tender. Also a very powerful cleaning agent. You can make a paste of it, rub it on your carpet, rub it around the kitchen, and it will dissolve any grease and dirt. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat this meat now in this coating as per the recipe that you'll get on your Course Resources, and I'm going to stick it, slap that pork in there, give it a good dusting. Beautiful. And now that's ready for the batter. So I'm going to make a quick homemade sweet and sour sauce. Well, we start with red wine vinegar, about 100 mils of that. I've got some chili flakes. Now the recipe calls for about a teaspoon, but the missus likes it hot, so I'm going to put in 2. I'm going to start by boiling this on the stove. Now you can use a fresh chili in there, you split it in half, put it in there, and we're just going to boil it together to infuse and get that heat out of the chili. So while that boils away, I've got the other ingredients. My chicken stock, I've got some orange juice here. You can use pineapple juice, but it's going to be a sweet and a sour sauce to complement that vinegar. But what I've got is some tomato ketchup, and what I've done here is I've made a nice little paste from our corn flour mix. You could use flour if you wanted, but you'd need a little bit of extra ingredients. What I'm going to do here is, once I've mixed this together and I'm happy that my chili's boiled and infused, I'm going to whisk this into my sauce, and that gelatinisation of the starch is what's going to thicken it. I'm just going to knock this back ever so slightly, just so it's not so pasty, and I'm just waiting on that vinegar to boil. Ready? Okay folks, so that's boiling. I've knocked this paste back. It's important that you're not adding anything hot to this paste as you're knocking it back, because any heat there will start to that gelatinisation process. But now that's started to boil, it's reducing. I'm going to add my orange juice in there, my fruit juice, a little bit of stock. The recipe calls for about 15 grams of honey, so I'm just going to put a lovely little bit of a squeeze in there. It's about 15 grams. And then I'm going to take my whisk, I'm going to take my spoon, and I want to add in this floury tomato paste mixture as I'm stirring. And I'm going to wait for that just to thicken up. It's fruity, it's tangy, some authentic sauce there. If you want it a little bit more brighter, just add a little bit more tomato sauce there, or you can knock back that consistency with some stock, whatever you fancy. But that is delicious. She's going to love it. Whilst I'm waiting, I'm going to put on a pan so I can shallow fry my pork. But I want that just to come up to a nice temperature, so my pork just goes under that surface of the oil. But be careful folks, we don't want a fire. The batter for our pork, just a simple batter. I've got some gluten-free flour in here and some corn flour. To that I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking powder, and then I've got 100 ml of water. I'm just going to mix it to a basic batter. We don't have to worry about any gluten content in there or overworking it, because there's obviously no gluten in the rice flour or in the corn flour. Alright, so batter's ready, the pork's ready in the marinade. I'm just going to drop the little pieces into my batter just to coat it. I want my oil nice and hot, probably about 175, 180 degrees. And just to test that that's ready, I'm going to take a small little piece of carrot, drop it in. I can see there beautifully sizzling away. I know it's just right. So now give my pork a good coating in that batter, drop it in, and this should provide me with a beautiful crispy Cantonese style batter, just like you'd get from your local takeaway. Alright, so I'm just going to toss this around in the pan a little bit. Important here that you've not got any water or anything that's going to drop into that fat and cause it to pop back in your face. But what's very important here is that I'm not overcrowding the pan. The more meat that goes in there, the lower that temperature will be, and the less crispy that batter will become. When it's ready, it's going to come straight out of there, straight onto the kitchen towel, just to drain. And then I'm going to reheat it and toss it through my sauce with a bit of a side accompaniment in a hot wok. Okay, so I put a wok on, ready to receive that veg. I'm just taking out the remainder of this fried pork, and my goodness, this is looking delicious. I'm going to get rid of this hot fat, take it away. I've got a ready to use oyster sauce at the back here, which I'm just going to coat some of my pork in. So I've got a variety of dishes for tonight. You can see here I'm bringing up my sweet and sour back to the boil, and then we're ready to go. I'm going to take some of these porks, I'm going to chuck them in. Okay, I'm going to put some in with my oyster, ready to serve. But we'll see notably around the table we'll have a variety of dishes that will get served. And I can finish with a bit of sesame, a little bit of garnish on top of there. What I'm going to do now is, just to finish off this dish, I've got my oil. I'm going to pop in my vegetables. I'm going to disperse these through my sweet and sour just after I've given them a light saute, but come and have a look. What we've got here, the beautiful accompaniment, some ready to wok noodles, just to fry up. You need a bit of carbohydrate to go with a meal like this. So veg is starting to saute, noodles in. We're going to be ready in just a few minutes. Turn that heat up a little bit. Now the beauty of cooking with a wok is it gets nice and hot, and it will stir fry those vegetables and those noodles in second. And the beautiful thing about this recipe is my tea's still here, it's still warm, it's really, really quick. Alright, so the good thing about this as well, because you've got such a pungent flavour within your sauces, you don't really need to add any seasoning to this. You could add a little bit of salt to your preference. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to finish off the dish for you viewers at home. I'm going to add a little bit of this sweet and sour back to it. And hear that sizzling away, beautiful. Coating them noodles. That looks divine. And then from this, onto the plate, we're rustic. We're going to finish with a bit of sesame, a bit of garnish on top. It's time for dinner. Dinner is served. Honey, tea's ready. Oh, right, I'm really looking forward to this. Once again, thanks for joining us at Phil's Kitchen. Until next time, keep cooking, be safe,